Welcome to another episode of the Undiscovered Decade. This is our series on movies from the 1990s. And my three compatriots here, we formed a band and decided to figure out what was kind of underappreciated in the decade that we were starting to grow up in. And we're up to March 1991, and we revisited the 60s a little bit by looking at a biopic, as you can see over Jeff's shoulder if you're watching the YouTube. The Doors. That's Jim Morrison over his what is probably his right shoulder, and it was more obviously about their frontman because he was an enigmatic character, but
almost like a god.
It took the course of your
almost like a lizard king.
Yeah, it took the same course as what you would imagine from rock biopics, and you can imagine the nature of how the film went. But I want to know what you guys thought about the film, and we'll discuss set pieces as we go, I guess. Obviously, Val Kilmer is probably the most important part of this.
He is a doppelganger.
Yeah, no,
Jim Morrison. Uncanny how good he looks.
It's weird. When the movie started, I was like, oh yeah, no, I could see how he looks like Jim Morrison. But like when they got to the scene where they were doing a photo shoot, and like that scene, he looked just strikingly similar to me. Like then it just like really popped.
Yeah.
But before that, I was just like, oh yeah, no, he looks like him. But then after that scene, I was like, oh wow, like basically spitting image, because like some of the shots, like they look like the iconic like photos that you would see of Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
He looked so much like it that when I was growing up, I thought that it was a documentary.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
For a while, I thought that Val Kilmer was actually the lead singer of the Doors.
That's so funny.
It's where he has a weird track record of like almost immersing himself in biopics like this, because he looks a lot like Doc Holliday, Tombstone, and then as John Holmes in Wonderland. So he must he's like
that Mark
not too hard too much on the Lizard King stuff, but he's almost a chameleon like that.
Yeah. Isn't it also funny that like in real life, Val Kilmer put on like a lot of weight like Jim Morrison did?
Well, that's a different situation.
Yeah, but like it's like a weird mirror.
It's Black Mirror.
Yeah, I know there was one trivia piece that apparently one of their managers saw him down the street, or one of the good friends of the Doors saw him and thought, wow, I didn't know Jim was that tall.
Oh, there you go. There's a good side by side.
You look at their lips, their eyes. He apparently spent like a year just being Jim Morrison so that he could try to
staring at the mirror.
God, he must have been insufferable to be around then.
Jim Morrison.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, it's insufferable to be around anyway. So I hear.
I mean, it's weird because like if he wasn't portraying a character that was on acid all the time, I would have thought he was probably autistic.
Yeah, that's fun.
Just the way he was acting.
The one thing I wonder though is, like Jeff said, thinking that Val Kilmer was actually the front man of the Doors, is he the image we have of Doc Holliday, of Jim Morrison, of John Holmes? Like I don't know what John Holmes or
Mark Twain too.
Yeah,
it's based on that stage play they did of Mark Twain, the one-man play.
Like I said, yeah. I mean, it's Mark Twain's iconic, I guess, more so than Doc Holliday. But like this image of Jim Morrison is mostly the one that people know of. So if anyone thinks of the voice, I mean, apparently it was on close-ups that Val Kilmer was singing, and then far away, like the concert shots, they dubbed in a little bit just to mix and make sure it was spot on. But his performance is incredible. Immersing himself for a year is worth it to me, I think.
Yeah.
Also, like I would never expect Meg Ryan to be in a role like she was in this movie.
Yeah,
like she's always been like a
she's the girl next door.
The girl next door almost. I mean,
and
like being,
I was expecting like Tom Hanks to pop out as like a manager.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 years earlier she done When Harry Met Sally, which we watched earlier this summer.
True,
so,
but like
totally different.
The only time that I've seen her like do something like out of like character for her, or like what she portrays, isn't really seeing her. It was her voice in Sinbad.
I was gonna say Courage Under Fire.
She played the evil goddess.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Of course, it was a
I
voice,
just
but
saw
like
that.
still, like that's the only other time where like if like she was like out of like what I perceive her norm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because looking back on their meet cute where he climbs up a tree and kisses her in a window, it's something that would have been like a quirky thing in a Cameron Crowe movie, but in this, it's just part of his manic whimsy.
Yeah. He just wanders out of the beach and picks a house, and suddenly he's with Meg Ryan.
Also,
Yeah,
like, hey, like
he's
that's
almost
the other
defined
word
by
that-
his free spiritedness, and it's
You're the
encapsulated in that
one,
moment.
man.
Yeah. Though I don't love the line where she's like, "You don't like doors." And he's
Oh
like,
yeah.
"No, I don't believe in them."
Let's just gonna shoehorn that in there.
Yeah. All right, Oliver.
They did a better job of downplaying the Eureka moment with Light My Fire.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
a great scene. That's apparently actually how it happened. I mean, Robbie Krieger, the guys behind him wanted to make sure they had a little bit of consultancy. Ray Van Zerk did not. I want to get into that later. But Robbie Krieger wanted to make sure that they pointed out like it wasn't just Jim writing stuff. And the best line I think is when he's like, "Yeah, I just wanted it to have something like snakes and fire, like you would like." So,
Yeah.
and it's cool to hear it like in a different pitch. So.
At first, Jim Morrison almost seems dismissive of the song.
Yeah, but then like
no.
when he
The way that
starts
he even
singing it,
brought
he's
it
like,
up.
"Oh yeah, no, I dig it."
I love those origin scenes where you're just like this thing that's been ubiquitous for decades, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's why it exists.
Yeah.
You know, those
I do like
always are great.
and the next thing they do, Manzarek's like, go away for 20 minutes. I'll figure it out. And he comes up with like that massive Bach intro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
And then also in his youth, Riders of the Storm is playing. And it's a perfect song to accompany that because you see that tornado in the distance and you see the that ailing Indian on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Interesting with that is that it's the songs are playing pretty much throughout the movie, even if it's just the instrumentals of the songs, because there's a lot of breaks within their music. And so it almost becomes like it's just the music in his head rolling all the time, you know. But this second watch, it got me to enjoy the music even more. And I'm already a fan of the Doors, but you know, I appreciated that.
See, that was the thing, was I was never really I don't know. I'm terrible with music, as we've discussed on this podcast before. So there were a lot of songs that played and it was like, oh, that was the Doors.
Yeah.
But you know, I totally agree how it was just like the continuous playlist of just the music happening in his head the whole time, and the way that you know, Oliver Stone put the whole thing together as just, it felt like a continuous acid trip throughout the entire movie.
I know your
It was great though.
ratio for your film was a little off, right? I don't know if that got fixed.
Yeah, well,
When you
no, that was
watch it.
because I was trying to watch a DVD on a 4K machine. There was just like,
Oh, okay.
it was the
So-
thing.
So
But-
we've learned that doesn't work.
Well, it was just, I haven't watched physical media in a while, so I'm like, oh, man.
But it was, I don't know if it worked for you, obviously probably did. The colors got more and more orange as they went along.
Right.
You can
Yeah,
even
yeah.
see in
No,
the
that
photo you
definitely-
have there.
That
So-
definitely happened.
Yeah, so I guess that's like the burnout of acid in a way.
Something we got to point out is Robert Richardson's cinematography in this
Mhm.
is so vibrant, and it's probably I've never done drugs, but it feels like the closest approximation I could have vicariously doing drugs. Maybe Jimmy could give us some insight on it.
I mean,
I didn't just look at him. I wanted to see what.
yeah,
we were
way
gonna
to
say.
put me on the spot, guys. I mean, I've never done acid, but I've done shrooms. So, I mean, it's I guess it's comparable.
From what I've heard, this is what it's
Right.
like. So
But that scene when they're on the Vision Quest in the desert,
Yeah, that's
phenomenal
definitely-
scene.
Best scene in the movie.
that's definitely what acid is like. That Vision Quest.
Wait, did they have a babysitter?
I think the girlfriends were.
I don't
don't
think
know,
they were.
actually, no.
I think they were on
No.
acid too. I think they went
Yeah.
out in the desert without a babysitter.
Because
So
there's
like,
that one
It was
point when
the
Meg pops
60s,
up and you're like,
man.
oh right, the girls are here.
No, the
Which is
baby,
funny because that
things could
scene,
have gone bad so
The babies-
easily in real life. Yes.
the
That
babysitter
scene
was
is
the
spoofed.
imaginary shaman in the distance.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
that scene is spoofed in Wayne's World 2.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
good.
is.
Oh good. I'm glad
Holy crap!
I
You're
haven't
right.
seen that one yet, so
Ah.
I gotta get around to it.
I completely. Wow.
Isn't Kyle MacLachlan in one of them? Or am I thinking of? I'm thinking of Rob.
You're thinking
Lowe.
Rob Lowe.
Yeah, back when I was a kid, I mixed them up a little bit because I didn't really know who they were, and like they're both like pretty TV actors, so
Pretty boys.
I don't know.
You know what's strange about this is you would never think that this would be a project that would attract Oliver Stone because he's more into political dramas. But
Mhm.
apparently he heard The Doors for the first time in 1967 when he was in Vietnam. So it kind of dates back to his Vietnam era. Everything's kind of defined. His whole career is defined by that Vietnam experience.
Yeah. The one fun fact that I always wanted to point out was, or at least for this, I wanted to, was that according to Oliver Stone, he had given a script to him of an early draft of Platoon and wanted Jim Morrison to possibly be the part that Charlie Sheen eventually played, that private that's going through everything. And according to Oliver, that he heard that the script was there in the Paris apartment where he died. So,
Oh wow.
At the very least, he got the script returned to him when he started this film. So, so it could have been interesting if Jim survived. He might have become an actor. You know, Manzarek wanted to be a director, so
I mean,
maybe they would have gotten more
Like
into film.
in this movie, he was saying, "Let's make a movie, maybe in black and white." 'Cause,
Yeah.
like he was going on about that. Like,
He went to UCLA at first. He
Yeah.
had experimental films, and people just didn't like it. So,
I mean, it was a little.
The most pretentious.
in this, it was, yeah,
Oh, I was having some hardcore flashbacks when that happened.
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, maybe I should have just, dropped everything and started singing rock
Probably.
music.
He gets one bit of criticism and he goes, I'm dropping out, I'm leaving.
Dealer. You know who that professor was, though?
Oliver Stone.
Yeah. So, not a bad. Not a bad cameo, yeah. I didn't realize it was him the first time. When I looked up all the cameos, I was surprised.
Huh.
I mean, there's a ton of people.
I'm
in this.
surprised I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Like we got the box set with his face on it right in front of the.
Well,
TV.
he's wearing a goatee in the scene.
Yeah. And I pointed out another guy that I was like, that looks like Francis Ford Coppola. I wonder if he put him in because they're kind of friends, you know. But I think it was just film types. So,
I don't think
Yeah.
Francis Ford Coppola does cameos.
well, no, I didn't think it was actually him. I thought it was a guy being him in 1967.
Right.
You know, one of the most interesting cameos, which certainly surprised Jimmy. He's like, wait, is that was Andy Warhol, as played by Crispin Glover,
Oh, yeah.
infamously just
Not
like
Bill Hader in this one.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
like I saw his face. I'm like, hold up. Is this
Yeah.
that the dad from Back to the Future?
it's kind of perfect, honestly.
And like he looks pretty damn close to Andy Warhol,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is like I was like saw him like, yeah, no, that checks out. That really does.
If anyone is familiar with Crispin Glover's current career, he basically is like a modern day Andy Warhol. Like
Right.
he's fucking off his rocker.
Yeah,
So,
I've seen some of those movies that he's directed.
Yeah.
Odd.
The What Is It trilogy?
Yes,
He
with
just
the
goes
the
around
people
with-
with mental disabilities, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's a trip.
Yeah. So he kind of has his own mobile factory in a way because he goes around screening them.
Yeah.
But he was good too. And apparently that golden phone thing actually happened.
Yeah, I remember hearing that a long time ago,
They just do
either
that
in
to
my
people.
teenage years or college years about that happening. So
Yeah.
like when that came up in the movie, I was like,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Jennifer Tilly had a cameo.
Did she? I missed that one.
Yeah.
Where was she?
Okie Girl.
There were a couple other people that were in concerts. Actually, the band themselves were popping up.
Mm.
I don't know if you might not have noticed because you don't know what they looked like in real life. And we had just seen Frank Whaley playing Robbie Krieger, but Krieger walks behind them in the Whiskey A Go-Go scene when they're being offered, like Jim's being stepped away and told you should just be solo. Krieger in real life walks in between Morrison and Whaley as Krieger.
Oh,
And the second guy that's like, you should listen to him. He knows what he's talking about, and then walks away. He's kind of had crazy hair. That's their first manager, the guy played by Michael Wincott, the guy from The Crow.
Really?
That's like the
Oh
real
yeah,
manager.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like the real guy. And then the next scene is Michael Wincott as him, like, we're gonna sign you. So,
Yeah.
So there was like a little bit of foreshadowing if you knew
yeah.
what he looked like.
yeah, which I didn't at the time. Just looking this up, I was like,
So like if you
they're all
were
right
of the age to have been around the doors and like recognize faces, like you were like,
Yeah.
hey, and
Yeah.
then
and then
the actor portraying him shows up like a scene later.
And then John Densmore, the drummer, who's played by Kevin Dillon, the one Jeff's kind of blocking right now. He is
Johnny Drama.
yeah.
oh,
He's the studio recorder for Jim's late poetry readings, where he's like, I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Yeah, well, it kind of came off as like almost like a vaguely like Hamlet-esque monologue
Yeah,
during those scenes.
yeah. I liked his shirt with the 66.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. Manzarek did not participate, like I mentioned earlier. He was not a fan of the script, so he does not make a cameo. But at the time, Krieger and Densmore were fine with everything, but they've since, as well as Patricia Keneally, who is the reporter that he ends up sleeping with. She was not a fan of her portrayal. Apparently, it's kind of an amalgam of different girlfriends. Yeah, this is a thing that I found. I loved this. Corey's looking a little confused, or bemused maybe. That
no, because I'm confused by it because she has a cameo in it.
I know this is what I was leaning into. She is the person that actually marries the in movie Keneally and Jim in the strange Celtic ceremony.
She's the weird pagan.
She's the priestess.
She's in it. She and Densmore were actual consultants for what happened, and later they're like, we don't know what Oliver was thinking. So like they dismissed it later, and they made it like this is Oliver's version of the truth, and you're like, I don't know what to think about that, because I watched a whole YouTube video on what is accurate in the movie and in real life, and a bit of it was like, well, this wasn't actually said, and you're like, okay, quotes don't need to be exactly perfect in historical films, right? But he's like, if you even look at the details of the concerts, that's not what Jim was wearing and stuff like that. But like, I understand like an amalgam of people. Like Patricia Keneally isn't just one of the many partners that Jim Morrison had. Apparently, Meg Ryan's there's the name I forgot. Her real
Pamela.
Pamela Corson, I think.
Yeah.
She had a bunch of different lovers too. Like we do see one played by who was that? That was Costas Mandylor.
Yes.
That was just an example. Both of them were examples of the different partners they had. To crunch something into 2 hours and encapsulate a whole period of people's lives, it's a different thing than like Lincoln, where you're just taking a few months to exemplify the character, you know?
Right.
So it's kind of a tough thing to weave a thread through. So
yeah, I mean, you see that in a lot of war movies when you talk to the original the original soldiers that those movies are portraying. They'll say like they were like, yeah, the movie's fine. I know they got so much, like they're aware of it, so they're like, yeah, no, we know it's like a exaggeration of this, that, and or like trying to save as much time as they can. So like soldiers understand.
Yeah, I mean, even with Oliver Stone's Platoon, the iconic image of Willem Dafoe raising his arms is based on an infamous photo. So you're pulling from things in historical memory. But it's understandable people like Ray Manzarek would take affront to it because it's their life. I mean, if I wasn't making my own film, I would be upset, I guess.
I mean, he's also like a rock star, so like there's a bit more ego involved.
I don't want to dismiss them, but like the fact is Robbie Krieger and John Densmore helped make the film, so it's weird that they dismissed it later. So maybe in editing it changed a lot of what they expected, but
it's the same way with I heard Jake LaMotta hated Raging Bull, but he cooperated with it the whole time.
Yeah, so it's the thing is when you're filming, a lot goes into it that you don't expect to change. So maybe it's the order of things, maybe it's the way it looks. I don't know.
or certain details
Yeah.
that maybe you weren't around to consult on.
Yeah, like no one was there in Paris when Jim Morrison died, but apparently Corson's family wanted to make sure it didn't look like anything happened like a Kurt Cobain situation, so that she wasn't in the public's eye, like may have murdered Jim,
Right.
because no one else was there. She finds the body in real life, and no one knows how he actually died. They just kind of assume drug overdose, but were they
Feeling in
doing
the-
drugs together and then it
Well,
got out of hand?
The end of the movie, it says heart
speculate.
failure,
Right,
allegedly.
right.
But
So we don't know. And he did so much he drank so much alcohol, and we can't just assume things, and it's just, whatever the tragedy is, it's disappointing. The thing I want to say about that though is, like, that's the worry about the image. Like, we see Jim Morrison as Val Kilmer now, so how far did they go to make his image kind of like an asshole to Pam, an asshole to his friends? Every one of his friends are like, this isn't the Jim we knew. He was a nice guy. He just drank sometimes. And it's like, maybe you had rose-colored glasses on, but maybe he wasn't as bad. And this is just dramatic, more so than his real life. He takes liberties so that it's an interesting film.
Right.
So that's the thing I wanted to talk about with biopics. Like, it's tough to make something that just happened as interesting as you can.
I was gonna say, if we watch Bohemian Rhapsody and they never broke up, would that be dramatic?
Right.
As far as we knew, they had a great relationship for the most part.
Yeah. They were not broken up before Band Aid. He knew. I think the whole band knew he was sick already.
Right, and they toured for years after that.
Right.
yeah.
So,
Well,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
made
you
it seem
gotta
like
take
it's
some
bad.
sort of artistic license, because he's, at the end of the day, he's a filmmaker making a movie about it.
Yeah.
And, maybe he was taking a couple pages out of Morrison's playbook with all of his experimental shit back at UCLA.
That's funny. Yeah.
And Oliver Stone's just like, I think you would have liked this.
I like to think
And not
so.
just because it's stroking his ego into
I was
oblivion.
gonna say, Natural Born Killers looks more like a Jim Morrison movie than anything.
Right.
Really? Yeah. That's one
Just
of the
the experimental stuff.
Yeah. I still want to watch it, even though I know you say you hate it.
It's horrible.
Yeah. I for one still enjoy What Happens Here. I think it's one of the best biopics I've ever seen.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just biased because I love the Doors, but it was just so great to like see the whole band and everything. And having already been a fan of Tombstone, I loved Val Kilmer. So just seeing him as someone he looked like,
Yeah.
it's perfect casting.
That was the thing, because I was never really like a fan of the Doors. I am now that I know.
Really?
Not that I necessarily know the story, but
wow.
like contextually, I was
This
just.
made you like the Doors.
I was.
Huh.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because I don't know, for some reason, like 60s and 70s music just did not vibe with me for a while. And now I guess with experience in life, now I'm like, oh yeah, I get it now. Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny he says that, because now I know the origin, not only behind the name of the Doors,
Right. Yeah. That was the other thing.
and then but also I think like he said, it contextualizes, like, kind of. I always saw their lyrics as very stream of consciousness, but now I can see where it's coming from. I can see the wellspring of the thought process that it's coming from, and it's a lot of it's drug addled.
Yeah.
A lot of it's flower power era, like aphorisms.
Yeah.
But I can see the entire landscape that it came from.
Yeah, no, like I mean, I wasn't really surprised with where the lyrics came from, because like I enjoy history, so like knowing what the period was like, it's like okay, yeah, no, it makes sense. And like I knew he was doing drugs, so before seeing the movie, and I knew he died of an overdose or a heart failure. Like I was aware of that, so like it was like it all made sense. But like I just really dig period pieces. So like seeing like the movie happening historically, and it's like, it's a band biopic, but then like you're also bumping into like a bunch of celebrities of the time. It's just like, this is neat, this is fun.
Yeah, I like the factory stuff.
It's like a time traveling field trip.
Yeah.
A regular rock biopic with the frizz? No way.
I guess I don't know.
I was glad it didn't feel like a Cliff Notes version
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
Doors, where it was just like it's because they could have easily done that, where it was just a series of events and incidents that were landmarks in the Doors' career, like the part where he exposes himself on stage. That could have been just another example of Jim being an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
But within the thread of the movie, it made sense, his behavior
Yeah.
and the fallout that happens afterwards.
Yeah.
Like it was a
I
tipping
think
point.
the order is key, I think, in this. Obviously, some of the events happened that way, but I
The
mean,
order, and then it goes out of order. And
yeah.
well, the other thing is, I don't think Oliver Stone abbreviates anything. So, like, the movie's 2.5 hours long, which
Yeah.
is very long by film standards.
But
So,
pretty
you know, because you got
short for Oliver Stone standards.
Yeah, no, like when Tristan was like getting us to watch it, he was like, Jim, you have two options. We could like watch halfway, like we could split it up, like watch part of it now and part of it later, or watch the whole thing. I'm like, we're gonna watch the whole thing all the way through from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Like I'm not splitting this up.
Yeah.
Like I know I'm gonna like this movie, so we're sitting down and watching it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely the longest one I think we've done. So can't think
Yeah,
of a long one.
Was this Criterion or
No,
No, it's not that beloved. That's the thing. This is kind of a hidden gem.
really?
it's,
Yeah.
especially looking at
I
the
didn't know it
budget.
was a Doors movie.
Ah, see?
Yeah.
I figured it would have
Yeah,
been.
like looking at the budget compared to what it grossed.
Yeah, it was what,
32 cost, made
Okay.
37.
Okay, I switched them. Yeah, barely
Yeah.
made anything back. So it did all right though. It came in second that week. And the thing was, Silence of the Lambs was dominating the box office for a month
Yeah.
or three, I think. I think from February through May, it was the top movie. So it's kind of tough to say that. It was the top that week, at least, for other movies.
Silence of the Lambs is a good movie. I enjoyed it at the age of 9.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is a good movie.
That makes sense why he's like he is.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Now that's putting
fell into
context to
place there.
something.
Yeah. Buffalo Jim.
Buffalo Jim. No.
He does have lotion in his room. I've seen it.
Were you freaked out every time they would say Jim in the film? Like, did you think they were talking to you?
No, dude, like seriously, there's so many. I've come across so
Did you
many
guys do
Jims in my
shrooms
life.
before watching the
Like,
movie?
Jim was like, or James is like one of the more common names in the like Western world. So like,
yeah.
I'm used to it. Like, like I know when somebody's talking about another Jim, I'm just like, okay.
Well, it's like my thing now is the big joke name, like when they're just naming a random like asshole in the background, it's always Jeff now. I'm
It
like,
really
right,
is.
come on, really, come on.
Jeff is the asshole now.
Jeff, who lives at home.
Yep.
Right, exactly.
Great movie.
It was
Yeah. Well, like you were saying, I think
disappearing into the background here.
I think Jeff and I related a lot to Rayman's Error. I don't know if that's a tribute to Kyle MacLachlan's performance, but maybe it's because he also went to film school. But I think we both liked the steady hand that was trying to keep Jim off or on the rails, you know. I think back to the last time they all see each other. There's two shots that stand out to me. One where Jim passes out at Ray's daughter's birthday party, and he's reaching in to like, come on, Jim, you got to make your car, you got to take the flight. And he's like shrouded in white. It's almost like God coming to say it's time to come home. And then there's another shot before the party starts where they're all talking about how like, yeah, we'll see you when you get back from Paris. And Jim's giving them a gift of his poetry book. And Ray is standing in the background smoking a joint or a cigarette. We don't know, probably a joint, but and in the foreground, Jim is drinking a bottle of liquor. So it's like the two dynamics. Their clothes are white and black. So I just thought that was really cool. They are the two opposing forces that made sure the Doors even happened.
Like
so,
yin and yang.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's also biased because I love Twin Peaks and all the other stuff that Kyle MacLachlan's done, but this is actually the first thing I saw him in 15 years ago. So this is maybe why I do like Kyle MacLachlan. I blew Jimmy's mind a little bit by pointing out that it was that Frank Whaley, the guy who's playing Robert Krieger, is the flock of seagulls. Well, not the flock of seagulls guy, but the guy in the scene with the flock of seagulls guy in Pulp Fiction. I forget the character's name, but he's the
Brett.
yeah. So
This is a
Look
tasty.
at the big brain on Brett.
that's what it is. Yeah. So that was cool to see Frank Willie. I didn't realize he's kind of
We're gonna talk about him in a different movie that came out this month as well.
yeah, he was having a little bit of a moment. He didn't really make it after Pulp Fiction because he was playing smaller parts, but this is one of the biggest roles he has. Swimming with Sharks is maybe the only one after
That was the first one I saw him in.
but he was in a couple of Oliver Stone films. He's in Born on the 4th of July. He's in another movie with Kevin Dillon after this, another war film, but he never really hits big. He does Swing Kids. That's the one I was going to point out.
Oh God.
We were talking about Swing Kids, and it was funny because we were talking about it during the Doors, and I didn't even realize he's the one that's kind of the one that turns. So,
Let's talk about Newsies while you watch it as well.
do you not like Swing Kids?
I like Robert Sean Leonard. Or is he in Newsies?
No, that's what it is. It's him and
Okay,
Whaley.
all right, I wasn't sure.
I think Whaley's even better than that. He doesn't get much to do here. Just looks like Hyde from that 70s show.
Yeah.
But I've grown to appreciate Kevin Dillon. I know Jeff, you said Johnny Drama, but his early days, he's maybe my favorite part from Platoon. He's scary in that.
He's good in the Blob remake.
In this, yeah, the Blob.
Honestly, I'm pretty sure this is the first Oliver Stone movie I've actually watched. Which,
Yeah?
like,
You're gonna blow my mind.
I've seen a lot of his stuff, like, you know, just bits and pieces of it over the years. But as far as actual movies,
From beginning to end.
yeah, this is
Were you there when we watched Wall Street at Mike's?
no.
Okay.
I've
Yeah.
never seen either of the Wall Streets.
Hmm.
No JFK.
No.
Well, that's the thing we're not gonna cover that, but we're obviously gonna talk about it when it comes to December this year. So that's the other thing. He liked to do, at least at the beginning of his career, 2 movies at a time. He did Salvador and it just took a while to come out, and then he did Platoon later that year. So it seems like he was working quickly on both of those. But same thing happened here where he was a passion project and then a major motion picture that gets Best Picture nominations, lots of money. So it's kind of like Spielberg when he do his lesser film and his big blockbuster for a time. I have not seen JFK, so I don't know. What do you think comparing the two?
Comparing this to JFK,
Yeah.
it's JFK is much more obviously speculative,
Hmm.
and theoretical, because it's all about the conspiracy theories.
Like this?
But weirdly enough, it's a little more pragmatic than you would think, given that subject matter. I think you'll like it a lot.
Yeah.
No,
I
you're-
want to watch that because I love.
Because it's all about the assassination. It's not about, obviously, it's not about JFK himself.
Right. Yeah, that much I knew.
Yeah.
It's ironic.
I think for JFK, I've only seen the first 30 minutes.
Hmm.
Yeah, but then I guess I had to go somewhere, so I had to cut it short and leave.
Hmm.
So I obviously never finished the movie if I've only seen the first 30 minutes.
Yeah. Did you like those 30 minutes?
I mean, it caught my attention.
Yeah.
As
This
a
is-
Joe Pesci completist, you have to see it.
Oh, he's in that?
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. There's a
Jack
lot.
Ruby.
He's Jack Ruby in it, right?
He's Jack
Really?
Ruby.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good
Yeah.
casting.
Oh,
Um,
I was mistaken. I did see W.
Oh,
I love W.
Oh, I haven't seen
Great.
that one.
I have it. We should get into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've been going through Oliver Stone's filmography from start to finish. At least when the pandemic started,
Show them that box set you got.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I remember.
I've been staring at that box set for ever since you moved in, I think.
Yeah.
Just sitting there in front of our TV.
This has everything from Salvador to Any Given Sunday, and it has a preview of Alexander because it was about to come out in 2000.
Yikes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. You
I mean, this is the time to look at Oliver Stone. After Alexander, it gets a little wonky. W is probably the best thing from his 2000s. But
Yeah.
I don't know. What was that weird one with Selma Hayek? Is it Selma Hayek? Or
Oh, the Savages?
yeah, Savages.
I liked it, but
And he makes a sequel to Wall Street.
He did the Snowden one too.
Oh, that wasn't bad.
That was okay.
Though I think I just like Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
He's good in it. And there was a cool thing they did when that came out where they had a talk with Oliver Stone and got Snowden.
That's
the
right. We
back
saw
in-
that.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
sneak preview that we saw. They did
Yeah.
that.
But yeah, I'd recommend this. This is if you're a fan of like auteur directors,
Yeah.
good collection.
U-turn on there.
Yeah, everything. Salvador, Platoon, Wall Street, Talk Radio, Born on the 4th of July, The Doors, JFK, Heaven and Earth, Natural Born Killers, Nixon, which I've heard is one of the best, another great
Nixon.
biopic with Anthony
Nixon's
Hopkins.
really good, yeah.
And U-Turn, which I've always wanted to see, and Any Given Sunday, which is one of the biggest Al Pacino films I've just never got around to seeing.
Oh, it's
Always
great.
wanted to see that. And as a football fan, supposed to be
Long.
Yeah, that's mostly why I never saw any of these, because his movies are like the same length as Doors, 2.5 hours. So
I think that one's almost like 240.
yeah.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah. Speaking of
Put it in a
time,
TikTok.
what? Jeez. Yeah, I bet Oliver Stone loves TikTok.
Who knows? Maybe he
has
does.
one.
Maybe it's
Yeah,
a guilty pleasure of his.
Yeah. I know Martin Scorsese's been on there with his daughter. Well, speaking of time,
Not cinema, I know that.
speaking of time, I was thinking we move on, I guess. I don't know if there's any other thoughts you guys have about the
Want
door.
to give grades?
Yeah.
I go A- on it.
I definitely go A, but I mean, it's me. I love the Doors themselves, so it's great watching them.
A+ for me. Yeah, I give
I
it.
like it. It literally made me more interested in their music. So
That's
what the best biopics do.
yeah, that's Oliver Stone's job, I guess.
to make, I don't know. I love biopics, and this one was very well done. So
Yeah.
solid A.
Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to say about it, because I wanted the reason I'm a fan of the Doors is my father. It's maybe his favorite band. I know I've asked him. He's said a number of others, but yeah, I know. Yeah, nice. He actually saw them at their Madison Square Garden performance, the one they go up to New York for. I think it's not the one that Canale is at, but like right before they give the press conference, they're in New York, and he's actually not like falling off the stage. So, but the interesting thing is they opened for I think Jimi Hendrix opened for them. I forget which one it was. It was like the Jimi Hendrix Experience and the Doors together. My dad got to see that at the Velvet Room at Madison Square Garden, of all things. And watching this, I'm looking at the dates. I'm like, wait a second. How old were you? He saw them at 16.
Jesus.
Oh,
I believe it.
yeah. Yeah. And that pretty much tells you everything you want to know about my father. So it's
Danny hates ET.
it was formative for him. I know one of the first memories I have was he was like, I remember where I was the day he died, like with friends, and we all got together and listened to records and stuff. It was, that was huge. So
yeah.
But he got me to appreciate the band. So
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Wish my dad was into the Doors.
Right? What was he?
I get show tunes.
Oh, he was
Hermits.
Tunes and Christmas music.
Yeah.
Those were my formative years. But anyway, I digress.
Better than the Beach Boys, I guess.
Whoa. Actually, no, I had They Might Be Giants. That was the thing.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
They're very
I want to see the They Might Be Giants biopic.
Yeah.
Particle
Istanbul,
Man.
not Constantinople is the title.
Right. And then you just got Particle Man playing for 2 hours.